Karibu katika Elimu Mtandao YouTube channel. Elimu Mtandao tuna aim katika kutoa elimu kupitia mtandao kwa masomo tofauti tofauti. Leo tutaenda kuona somo la bookkeeping. Na mada yetu ya leo ni Introduction to Bookkeeping. So first of all, we need to know what is bookkeeping. When you're talking about bookkeeping, we are referring to a branch of accountants. That is an art of recording business transaction in terms of money or money. At the end of the day, we need to know why are we studying this subject called bookkeeping. We are studying this because of the objective that we have under this course or subject bookkeeping. The first one is what we call determination of profit. When you're talking about determination of profit, any kind of business, at the end of the day, they aim to get the profit. How will you know that your business is making profit or loss? You need to start this, what we call bookkeeping. But again, we have a second objective, which is fair tax assessment. For the issue of tax, as we know that for any government, they have to collect tax. So how can they assess how much are you going to pay as a tax? You have to have a knowledge of bookkeeping. Apart from that, business control. In order to control your business, you have to make sure that you have a knowledge of what we call business. Otherwise, you'll be ending up getting lost. So we have this as objective also. But a reliable financial position. As a business person, sometimes you need to borrow money from different institutions, financial institutions, even from banks. So these people, they need your financial statements. How will you be able to prepare those financial statements? Obviously, at the end of the day, you need to have this bookkeeping knowledge. Another one is knowledge of credit daily. When you're talking about knowledge of credit dealings, a business, we have two ways. You can do it in terms of cash or sometimes credit. So in order to have this kind of business which deal with the credit, you have to have a knowledge relating to bookkeeping. Then you'll be able now to know how can you collect from the debtors or customers who are purchasing goods from you on credit basis, and how can you be able also to pay suppliers who are supplying goods in terms of credit. So these are our objective of studying this, what we call bookkeeping. There are 5 of them, as you can see there. Now, from this one, now we can go to business transactions. When you're talking about business transaction, we are referring to the action that takes place between 2 or more people, but at the end of the day, it involves money and the goods or services that they are going to exchange. And when you're talking this also, you have to know that there is a cash transactions, but again, we have a credit transaction. Now, when you're talking about the cash transaction, it means that the transaction takes place, the business takes place, but immediately after the delivery of the goods or services to the customer, then the money is received or paid immediately. But when you're talking about the credit transaction, most of the time, transaction delivery is made, but the payment or receipt of the money comes later, after a certain period of time, according to what they have agreed, this customer and the buyer. So these are 2 types of business transaction. Now, from this point of view, now we need to know how can we record this transaction to books of account? Now, before going there, records, recording transactions. First of all, we need to know the nature of accounts. The nature of accounts. Now, when you're talking about the nature of accounts, in short, we can say it Alice. To be easy for you to understand by this abbreviation, Alice. When you're talking about us, this A stands for assets, all assets. And when you're talking about the L is liabilities. And then I is income, or what we call revenue. And this is what we call capital. And the last thing is what we call expenditure or expenses. So for any kind of business in this world, you'll be relating or you'll be talking about the issue of Alice. Nothing is coming from out of this one. Alice. Now, when you're saying asset, all asset has got the nature of debit. But these three of them, liability, income, and capital, they have the nature of credit. And the expenses has also the nature of debit. Now, if you want to increase asset, let's say you are buying asset, it means that you have to make sure that you show it on the debit. And when you are closing the account of the asset, automatically the balance that will be brought forward in next month, it will be on the debit side. That's why we are saying this is the nature of the assets. When you're talking about the liability, income, and capital has got nature of credit. If you want to increase the liability, it means that you have to post it on the credit. You want to increase income, you have to post it on the credit. You want to increase the capital, you have to post it on the credit side. So these three having nature of credit mean that amount of balance that will be brought forward for the next month, it will be shown on the credit side. And the expenses is the same as asset. They have the same nature, debit side. Now, if you know this one, then to record business transaction to be very simple. Then from here we can establish rules, two rules. We are saying that any account that receives should be debited. Should be debited. What does it mean? Anything that comes in, you have to debit. And vice versa, it will be rule number 2, that any account that gives, what we say, what goes out should be credited to respective account. So from here now, we can say that this is how we record the transaction. Apart from this rule that we have established here and we have seen, we have what we call double entry principle, because when you are recording transaction, you have to make sure that you record it twice. And that is another principle which we call double entry principle. Now, what is double entry principle? Double entry principle simply states that for each transaction the business that is doing, the record should be recorded twice. Meaning that there will be two records. One account to be debited and the other account should be credited. And the vice versa is true. It means that if you are going to record, let's say it's a cash account, you are recording the cash account on debit. On debit, mean that the corresponding amount should be shown on the other account. Let's say it is sales account on credit. Mean that when you are selling goods, you are receiving money. So the money account will be represented by the cash account. So you have to debit it. And the goods goes out, in that we have to record it on the sales. That's why you need to credit. But the amount recorded in the cash account and sales account should be the same. And this is just an example. only one example regarding to sales and the cash, and how can we deal with the double entry. So double entry simply referring that the record of the transaction should be recorded twice in books of account. One account will be debited and the corresponding amount should be credited on the other account. So for today, let us end there. Then we try to check on next session how can we record the transaction. Thank you.